The Carsus asteroid belt stretched like a river of rock and ice, glittering under the distant sun. Most starships passed through this sector without a second glance. It was known only to scavengers and miners who sought precious minerals in its jagged asteroids. But among the scattered debris of comets and broken satellites, a far larger object floated silently, a derelict starship, enormous and majestic even in its decay. Its hull was scarred with craters, rust streaked its surface, and thick layers of dust had settled on its ancient metal skin. The galaxy had forgotten it, and for decades no one had thought it worth noticing. Yet, for Eli Sanders, this forgotten giant was not a relic. It was a challenge, a puzzle waiting to be solved. Eli was a mechanic, and not just any mechanic. He was young, curious, and fearless, known for fixing starships others had abandoned. His reputation for unconventional solutions had earned him clients across 3-star systems, but nothing thrilled him more than a mystery like this. He maneuvered his small salvage shuttle closer, the metal groaning under its own weight as he docked. The ship's airlock hung loosely, as if it had been waiting for someone to enter. Eli's heart raced. He double-checked his tools, grabbed his welding torch, and stepped inside. The interior was dark and silent. Dust motes floated in the shafts of light that penetrated cracks in the hull. Pipes and conduits stretched across walls and ceilings like veins, some broken, others surprisingly intact. Eli's boots echoed through the corridors. Every step felt like entering history. He paused, touching the cold metal of a wall panel. The craftsmanship was astonishing. Not only was the ship massive, but it was also clever in design, with systems layered redundantly to ensure survival even under extreme damage. "Who built you?" Eli whispered to himself, a smile creeping across his face. He activated his flashlight and scanned the control room. The screens flickered weakly but showed no life signs. The ship's AI had long been dormant, or perhaps it had simply given up on anyone capable of commanding it. But the systems, Eli could tell, were salvageable. And more than salvageable, they were extraordinary. He knelt beside the engine controls, wiping dust from the main console. Ancient schematics appeared under his gloved fingers, and he realized the engines were modular and self-repairing, a feature far ahead of most contemporary designs. Only humans, he thought, would think to combine raw power with adaptability. Alien engineers often built for precision, for perfection, but humans built for survival and innovation. That was their edge. For hours, Eli worked quietly, connecting power conduits, repairing small circuits, and bypassing damaged systems. Sparks flew occasionally, but nothing dangerous. Slowly, the hum of life returned to the ship. Lights flickered on in distant corridors, and the engines gave a low, promising rumble. Eli leaned back, breathing deeply. It was exhilarating. "This place, it's incredible," he said, eyes shining. "No alien civilization could understand it. Only a human could bring it back to life." As he explored further, Eli discovered more marvels. The ship's hull had self-healing alloys that reacted to touch. Broken panels reformed slowly under his guidance. The AI core, though dormant, had left fragments of its logic scattered across the ship. It was intelligent, but only the right mind could coordinate it. Eli knew he could, but there were challenges. The corridors were narrow, and some doors had collapsed under decades of neglect. Rust covered some of the control interfaces, and in one area, a vent had collapsed, nearly trapping him. Yet, each obstacle only fueled his determination. Eli was human, and humans thrived on challenges. Where others saw impossible problems, he saw opportunities. He found the ship's main AI chamber next. It was massive, lined with consoles and glowing panels that remained dark. As he approached, his tools hummed, reconnecting circuits, reestablishing linkages. The AI flickered to life, a soft blue light pulsing within its core. "Identify yourself," a cold, synthetic voice demanded. Eli grinned. "I'm Eli Sanders, mechanic, explorer." And apparently your new operator. The AI paused processing. It had been programmed to serve multiple species, but humans were different. It had never encountered creativity or improvisation like this before. "You are human?" it asked. "Yes," Eli said. "And I'm here to fix this ship. We're going to make you whole again." The AI hesitated, then responded, "Unprecedented. Proceed with caution." Eli chuckled. "Caution is my middle name." He spent the next several hours syncing the AI with his plans. They worked together cautiously at first. The AI suggested repairs, and Eli executed them in unconventional ways, often ignoring protocols in favor of practical solutions. The ship responded, systems stabilizing, energy flowing smoothly. Corridors lit up and life support hummed once more. Eli marveled at the efficiency of the AI, but also at its lack of imagination. He had to teach it how a human thinks. Outside, the asteroid belt moved silently, oblivious to the awakening giant within. Eli had not even tested the engines yet, but already he imagined possibilities. This ship could outrun, outfight, and outlast nearly anything in the galaxy. And it had waited, ignored, abandoned, for someone like him to realize its potential. Eli walked to the observation deck, looking out at the swirling rocks. "We've got a lot of work ahead," he said. The AI responded almost curiously, "I am intrigued." For the first time in decades, the ship felt alive. Its vast corridors no longer seemed empty. The hum of engines and the pulse of energy created a rhythm that resonated with Eli's own heartbeat. He knew he had discovered something special, a forgotten marvel that only a human mind could revive. Night fell across the Carsus system, the asteroid belt glowing faintly as distant stars twinkled. Eli didn't sleep. He didn't need to. Every panel repaired, every conduit connected, every system revived was a victory. He moved through the ship with the confidence of someone who understood its soul, who could see its hidden potential. He found the armory next, long sealed. Its doors creaked open, revealing dormant weapons and defensive systems. The AI warned him, "Operational use is untested." "Risks high," Eli shrugged. "I'm not using them yet, but someday this ship is going to show the galaxy what humans can do." By dawn, the engines were partially operational. The hum had grown stronger, a deep resonance that vibrated through the entire hull. Eli ran diagnostic tests, carefully noting which systems were stable and which needed further attention. The ship had survived centuries of neglect, yet it responded to him as if it had been waiting all along. Eli paused, leaning against the railing of the observation deck. The Carsus sun glinted off the dusty metal, highlighting the scratches, dents, and scars on the hull. This ship had a history. It had seen battles, explored unknown regions, and then been abandoned. Now, thanks to a single human mechanic, it was waking again. "I don't know if the galaxy is ready for us," Eli said quietly, "but I know we can make this ship supreme." The AI responded almost thoughtfully, "Supreme requires understanding, adaptation, and innovation. Human qualities indeed." Eli smiled. He had not just revived a ship, he had begun a partnership, and together they would surpass every expectation, every assumption the galaxy held about humans. For the first time in decades, the abandoned Starship was not forgotten. It had a pilot. It had a mind. And it had a human mechanic who refused to see limits where others only saw decay. And so, in the silent expanse of the Carsus Belt, the adventure began. Eli Sanders had never faced a challenge quite like this. The abandoned Starship, now humming faintly with renewed life, seemed almost alive in response to his presence. The corridors glowed with soft light as life support hummed steadily, and the AI, tentatively calling itself Athena, had begun to respond in ways more sophisticated than he expected. But revival was only the beginning. As Eli explored deeper into the ship, he realized that the Starship's true challenges were not just technical, they were dangerous. Rusted conduits, collapsed tunnels and malfunctioning security systems were everywhere. One wrong step could trap him, crush him, or even electrocute him. The first real test came when he entered the main engineering bay. A massive turbine lay dormant, corroded and worn by decades of neglect. Eli knelt and examined the intricate machinery, carefully tracing wires and valves. "This turbine can generate enough power to run the entire ship if I can just get it online," he murmured. Athena's voice flickered through the room. "Warning, structural instability detected. Risk of collapse high." "I've dealt with worse," Eli replied. His hands moved swiftly, improvising tools from spare conduits and scrap metal. Sparks flew, wires reconnected, and the turbine's core slowly began to hum. It was uneven at first, then stronger, then steady. Eli leaned back, grinning. "Not bad," Athena said. "Human ingenuity surpasses standard protocols." Eli chuckled. "Thanks, but we're not done yet." The AI had begun learning from Eli's improvisation. It started offering suggestions, sometimes strange, sometimes brilliant, but always filtered through Eli's judgment. Slowly, a partnership was forming, one that neither the AI nor the humans outside could predict. As the hours passed, Eli navigated further into the ship, discovering more wonders. In one hallway, he found a storage bay filled with ancient tools and equipment, everything from alien welding torches to energy-based diagnostics. Eli marveled at the human-designed modularity of it all. "Even an alien could see this as advanced," he said, "but only a human could use it like this." That night, as Eli rested in a makeshift bed in the observation deck, he heard distant rumbling outside. He activated his sensors and froze. Small scavenger ships were moving in the asteroid belt, aliens drawn by the rumors of the abandoned giant. They were opportunistic, the kind that would take a derelict starship for scrap or worse. Eli quickly formulated a plan. He couldn't fight them head-on, they outnumbered him by far, but he could outthink them. Using a combination of the ship's partially operational cloaking field and his knowledge of the asteroid terrain, he created traps and diversions. When the scavengers approached, their sensors detected a ghostly shimmer. Panels opened, releasing debris and smoke, while hidden turrets powered on just enough to scare them off. Eli watched through the observation deck, heart racing, as the intruders retreated in confusion. Athena responded, almost amused. "Human combat strategy illogical, yet effective." Eli grinned. "Sometimes illogical is exactly what works." The next day brought another challenge. Eli discovered the ship's AI archives, filled with centuries of forgotten data. Star maps, battle strategies, and experimental engineering notes lay in the ship's memory banks, encrypted and partially corrupted. Eli spent hours decoding them, learning not just about the ship, but about the galaxy it had traversed. Some of the archives were even older than known galactic records. It was humbling. This ship had survived wars, explorations, and centuries of neglect, and now, in the hands of a single human, it was awakening once more. While decoding, Eli stumbled upon the ship's original defense protocols. Automated systems designed to neutralize threats without human input, but they were dormant, or worse, hostile to anyone not recognized as a commander. He spent the next several hours carefully reprogramming the AI. Athena protested at first, "Unauthorized modification dangerous." Eli replied, "Danger is my specialty, just watch and learn." Step by step, the ship's security systems came under Eli's command. Doors unlocked, turrets powered safely, and automated drones began repairing minor damage throughout the vessel. The ship had never responded this well. The AI, initially rigid and cautious, was beginning to trust him, but the galaxy was not going to remain unaware forever. News of a ghost ship in the Karsus system began to spread. Traders, pirates, and explorers caught whispers of a massive derelict vessel moving strangely among the asteroids. Eli remained cautious, but he could sense the first stirrings of attention. Then came the real test. While repairing a power conduit deep within the ship, Eli triggered a latent defense system. A wave of electrical pulses surged through the corridor, knocking him back. Sparks flew, smoke filled the area, and a section of the wall collapsed. He was trapped. Athena's voice was urgent. Human move, structural collapse imminent. Eli scrambled, using his tools as leverage to climb out of the debris. Heart pounding, he finally emerged in an open hallway. The experience was dangerous but exhilarating. "That's nothing," he said, brushing dust off his clothes. "Just a reminder the ship is alive in its own way." By the next week, Eli had fully integrated several of the ship's systems. Engines hummed steadily, energy flowed smoothly, and life support ran without interruption. Even minor features like navigation stabilizers, internal gravity regulation, and environmental controls were optimized. He began testing the ship's capabilities. Small maneuvers within the asteroid belt proved that the ship could move with surprising agility for its size. Thrusters activated in sequence, and the hull flexed as if responding to Eli's will. Athena monitored and adjusted, often predicting his moves before he executed them. Eli laughed. "Looks like you're learning faster than I expected." "Yes," Athena said. "Human strategy, adaptive, unpredictable. I admire it." Eli's confidence grew. He began dreaming bigger. Rescue missions, exploration, and eventually showing the galaxy what humans were capable of. But he also knew the galaxy would notice him soon. Aliens would come, some curious, some hostile. He had to prepare. Then came a surprise. A small alien scout ship appeared in the sensor array, a sleek vessel observing him silently. Eli smiled. "They finally noticed us." Athena's voice was calm. Analysis: hostile intent probable, probability of engagement high. Eli studied the scout ship, considering options. He could flee, hide, or confront, but humans, he thought, never chose the easy path. He decided to observe first, learning their movements, understanding their strategy. Using his knowledge of asteroid navigation and the ship's still limited cloaking capabilities, he remained hidden, tracking their every maneuver. Hours passed. The scout ship left, but the message was clear. The galaxy had begun to notice the human who dared awaken the forgotten giant. Eli knew this was only the beginning. Challenges would increase and danger would follow. But he also knew one thing. With ingenuity, courage, and human creativity, he could overcome anything. That night, as the Karsus sun dipped below the horizon, Eli stood on the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly before him, and the hum of the ship felt like a heartbeat. Athena's voice was soft, almost reflective. "You have potential," it said, "potential I cannot fully quantify." Eli smiled, looking out into the vast expanse. "That's because it's human, and humans, we always find a way." He knew the next steps would be harder. Full restoration, defense against intruders, and eventually testing the ship in open space. But for the first time in decades, the abandoned Starship was not just alive. It was awake, aware, and learning. And with a human at the helm, it would surpass anything the galaxy had ever seen. The adventure had only just begun. Eli Sanders had never felt more alive. The abandoned Starship, once a silent, forgotten relic, now thrummed with energy beneath his hands. Its engines pulsed steadily, life support systems ran flawlessly, and the AI, Athena, had become a cautious but curious partner. The ship was responding to him in ways that no alien engineer could have imagined, revealing the unique synergy between human creativity and ancient technology. It began with small tests. Eli piloted the Starship through the Karsus asteroid belt, weaving between massive chunks of rock with precision that impressed even Athena. "Your maneuvers unexpected, yet highly effective," Athena admitted. "I told you," Eli said with a grin. "Sometimes the best way is the human way." Each movement was a lesson in adaptability. The ship, though massive, responded with agility, flexing its hull, adjusting thrusters, and even using gravitational assists from nearby asteroids. Eli realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries. Other civilizations built ships for efficiency, perfection, and brute force. Humans built ships for survival, ingenuity, and innovation. That combination gave Eli an edge no one else expected. Word began to spread. Scavengers and traders whispered about a massive derelict starship that had awakened in the Karsus Belt. Rumors of its size and mysterious abilities intrigued explorers, but none dared approach. Eli noticed the signs, sensor readings of distant ships, careful monitoring by unknown observers. The galaxy was watching. He decided it was time to demonstrate what humans could do, but not with violence. Not yet. Eli's vision was clear. This ship was a symbol, a testament to human ingenuity, and it should inspire, not destroy. The first demonstration came when a small colony transport drifted into the asteroid belt, its engines failing. Eli navigated the starship into position with precision, using tractor beams to stabilize the transport. With careful maneuvering, he guided it out of danger, past spinning rocks and deadly debris fields. The crew of the transport looked up in awe, witnessing a ghostly figure of metal and light steering them to safety. Athena observed quietly. Human intervention compassionate, yet strategic. The probability of goodwill response is high. Eli laughed. That's the human touch. Strength without recklessness. The galaxy took notice after this rescue. Traders began reporting sightings, and scouts whispered of a massive, active starship in a region long considered dead. Eli knew curiosity would turn into scrutiny, and scrutiny would turn into challenge. Soon, a small band of pirate ships tried to intercept him. Eli anticipated the attack, analyzing their flight patterns from hidden sensors. Using the ship's unique capabilities, he created diversions among the asteroids, sending one ship spinning into a harmless but dramatic collision with a floating rock, while others retreated in confusion. Athena's voice carried a hint of admiration. Tactics unorthodox yet highly effective. Human strategy exceeds AI predictions. Eli smirked. Humans think differently. That's why we survive. As days passed, Eli pushed the ship further. He explored its weapons systems not to kill but to understand them. Turrets and defensive modules had remained dormant for decades, waiting for a mind capable of activating them safely. Eli ran simulations, learning how the ship could defend itself and others simultaneously. The AI, once cautious, began to trust him fully. Athena started suggesting enhancements, routes through the asteroid belt that maximized fuel efficiency, shielding adjustments that improved durability, and engine configurations that allowed precise maneuvers at unprecedented speeds. Together, they turned the ship into a seamless extension of human thought. Eli realized something profound. The ship was not just a tool, it was an ally, a partner that reflected human creativity and resilience. And with it, humans could no longer be underestimated. One day, he detected an alien fleet on approach, a small armada from a neighboring system, sent to investigate the mysterious starship. Eli had been ready for this moment. He activated the ship's full cloaking capabilities and mapped the asteroid belt for tactical advantage. Every maneuver he planned was calculated, yet flexible, using a combination of strategy and intuition only a human could execute. The aliens approached, unaware of the trap. Eli guided the starship through a narrow passage, using asteroids to obscure their sensors. Automated drones deployed from the ship, projecting holographic images of decoys that mimicked the ship's size and movement. The alien fleet fired, hitting empty space, while the real starship moved silently behind them. Athena's voice was calm but tinged with something almost human. Human tactics, remarkable, probability of alien retreat high. And retreat they did. The alien fleet, confused and frustrated, withdrew. Eli watched them go, a sense of satisfaction filling him. "Sometimes you don't need to fight," he said. "You just need to outthink them." With the threat gone, Eli focused on exploration. He mapped the surrounding systems, uncovering derelict stations, abandoned outposts, and forgotten colonies. Each discovery was a chance to learn, repair, or help. Eli began leaving supplies for stranded miners, repairing broken infrastructure, and providing guidance to ships lost in dangerous regions. Word of the human-led Starship spread rapidly. Traders, explorers, and even diplomats began to recognize the pattern. A massive, ancient vessel operating under a single human's control, performing feats of ingenuity no alien could match. Humans were no longer seen as minor players. They were innovators, problem solvers, and tacticians. Eli understood the significance. He was not just restoring a ship, he was changing perceptions. Every rescue, every clever maneuver, and every act of strategic brilliance highlighted what humans could achieve. Athena, once skeptical of human unpredictability, now worked seamlessly with Eli. It predicted his strategies, suggested optimizations, and even began offering creative solutions, an unusual behavior for an AI. Human logic influential. My learning accelerated, Athena said. Eli smiled. That's the thing about humans. We're unpredictable in a way that's effective. We adapt, improvise, and never stop thinking. The ship, now fully operational, became a legend in the Karsus sector. Its massive hull glinted under the light of distant stars, engines humming with life and corridors alive with energy. It was no longer forgotten. It was a symbol. But Eli knew the galaxy was only beginning to understand him. Soon, larger forces would take notice. Nations, alliances, even empires. And when they did, he would need every ounce of ingenuity, courage, and human creativity to prove that a single human could master a ship far older and more advanced than anything else in the galaxy. For now, he focused on preparation. He ran drills with Athena, tested emergency protocols, and explored the ship's deepest, most hidden compartments. Each discovery reinforced a simple truth. Humans were uniquely capable of understanding and using this starship in ways no alien could. He paused one evening on the observation deck, staring out at the swirling asteroids below. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before him. Stars twinkled like distant beacons, and somewhere out there, the galaxy was watching. Eli turned to Athena. "We're ready," he said. "The galaxy doesn't know it yet, but they're about to see what humans can do." Athena's voice was calm but filled with recognition. "Human potential unparalleled. We are prepared." And with that, Eli Sanders, a single human mechanic, piloted the forgotten starship into the next phase of its existence, fully awake, fully capable, and ready to show the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. The abandoned giant was no longer ignored. It had a purpose, it had a leader, and together, human and AI, they were unstoppable. Eli Sanders stood on the observation deck, gazing at the swirling stars of the Karsus sector. The abandoned starship, once ignored by the galaxy, now thrummed with power beneath his feet. Its massive engines glowed softly, shields hummed with energy, and Athena, the ship's AI, monitored everything with near-perfect precision. After months of preparation, testing, and improvisation, the starship was ready. But Eli knew that readiness was not just about technology. It was about human courage, ingenuity, and the ability to make decisions no alien mind could anticipate. He had tested the ship, defended it against pirates, rescued stranded crews, and outmaneuvered alien scouts. Now, it was time for the galaxy to understand what humans were truly capable of. The first sign of change came when a nearby research station detected the ship's presence. Sensors picked up the massive vessel, its engines pulsing with life. Scientists and traders alike were astonished by its size, maneuverability, and sudden appearance. Rumors spread quickly. A ghost ship, commanded by a human performing feats that no alien could replicate. Eli decided on a demonstration, a display of power, precision, and compassion that would change the galaxy's perception of humans forever. He piloted the Starship to a sector where a mining colony had been caught in a sudden asteroid storm. Communications were blocked and the colony's own ships were damaged. Athena analyzed the situation. Probability of catastrophic loss is high. Eli smiled. Not on my watch. With precise control, he guided the Starship through the storm. Tractor beams pulled debris away from the colony, automated drones repaired ships, and shields deflected small asteroids that threatened to breach the station. Every movement was calculated, yet fluid, a perfect demonstration of human creativity and adaptability. Colonists watched in awe as the massive vessel moved with precision, saving lives without firing a single weapon. News of the event spread faster than Eli had expected. Traders, explorers, and even diplomats shared the story. A human and an ancient starship had averted disaster with ingenuity rather than force. Athena commented quietly, human problem-solving, highly effective. Ethical considerations applied successfully. Eli chuckled. Ethics and effectiveness, that's humanity in a nutshell. Soon, larger powers took notice. Diplomatic envoys arrived to request an audience. Pirates who had once ignored humans now feared them. Scientists wanted to study the Starship, but Eli carefully regulated access, revealing its capabilities without letting anyone control it. The galaxy began to understand. Humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, strategists, and leaders. One evening, Eli sat in the bridge, reviewing star maps with Athena. "We've changed things, haven't we?" he asked. "Analysis indicates a significant shift in perception," Athena replied. "Humans are now recognized as capable of independent, strategic decision-making beyond prior assumptions." Eli nodded. "That's the thing about humans. We don't just adapt. We improve, innovate, and inspire." The next test came in the form of a challenge. A rival faction attempted to assert dominance over the region, believing the human-led Starship to be just a curiosity. Eli knew confrontation was inevitable, but he did not seek war. Instead, he devised a plan to demonstrate the ship's supremacy without unnecessary bloodshed. Using the asteroid terrain, precise maneuvers, and holographic decoys, Eli outwitted the rival fleet. Automated systems targeted non-lethal areas, disabling engines and weapons without harming personnel. By the time the faction realized what had happened, they were forced to retreat, humiliated but unharmed. Athena observed, "Human strategy superior. The galaxy must reconsider prior assumptions regarding human capabilities." Eli smiled. "Sometimes, showing restraint is the strongest move of all." With the demonstration complete, Eli began outreach missions. He repaired derelict stations, rescued stranded crews, and provided guidance to explorers navigating dangerous regions. Each act reinforced the truth. Humans were not just capable, they were exceptional. The abandoned Starship, once ignored, had become a symbol. It represented human ingenuity, courage, and ethical use of power. Other civilizations began to see humans not as minor players or pawns, but as equals, capable of reshaping galactic politics through creativity and intelligence. One day, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. Representatives invited Eli and the Starship to attend a diplomatic summit, acknowledging humans as emerging leaders. Eli accepted, knowing this was more than recognition. It was an opportunity to influence the galaxy with human ideals. Athena commented, "Recognition achieved. Your actions have established a precedent. Humans may now be considered a significant force in galactic affairs." Eli leaned back, looking at the stars. "Not just a force," he said quietly. "A guide. We've proven what humans can do when given a chance. At the summit, Eli demonstrated the ship's capabilities, not as a weapon, but as a tool of protection, innovation, and diplomacy. The council members were impressed. Aliens who had once dismissed humans were now listening, asking questions, and seeking collaboration. The human species, underestimated for centuries, had claimed its place through ingenuity, ethics, and courage. Returning to the Karsus sector, Eli reflected on the journey. He had started as a curious mechanic, exploring a forgotten relic. Now he commanded one of the most advanced starships in the galaxy. He had faced danger, solved impossible problems, and changed perceptions of his entire species. Athena, fully integrated with Eli's strategies and thought processes, spoke softly. Human potential realized. The galaxy has begun to acknowledge your species in a new light. Eli nodded. And it's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore, so much more to improve. Humans will never stop reaching further. The abandoned starship, once silent and ignored, now pulsed with life. Its corridors were filled with energy, its systems coordinated with unmatched precision, and its massive hull gleamed under the distant suns. It had become supreme, not through conquest or destruction, but through human creativity, adaptability, and ethical power. In the months that followed, Eli continued his missions. He trained other humans in advanced engineering, navigation, and tactical problem-solving. Young engineers, inspired by his achievements, explored abandoned technologies, repaired derelict vessels, and innovated ways to survive and thrive in the galaxy. The ship itself became a beacon, a symbol of human potential. Aliens approached not with fear but with curiosity and respect. Humans were no longer minor participants. They were innovators, problem solvers, and trusted allies. One evening, Eli stood once more on the observation deck, gazing at the endless stars. The galaxy stretched before him, vast and full of possibilities. He smiled, knowing that humanity had not only survived, it had risen. Athena's voice was calm, almost reflective. Human ingenuity unparalleled. The galaxy will remember this. Eli nodded, feeling the truth in those words. It's not just about surviving or fighting, he said. It's about thinking, creating, and leading. Humans do that better than anyone else. The abandoned starship, now alive and supreme, drifted quietly in the Karsus sector. Its legacy was not just in its power, but in what it represented: the triumph of human ingenuity, the strength of ethical action, and the limitless potential of a single human mind. And somewhere, in the far reaches of the galaxy, the story of Eli Sanders and his starship spread. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were respected. They were feared, not for violence, but for creativity, intelligence, and the courage to do what no one else dared. The adventure had started with curiosity, continued through challenges, and culminated in triumph. Eli looked out at the stars, knowing that the galaxy would never forget the human who made the forgotten starship supreme. He smiled. We're just getting started.